One of the toughest decisions for people that are sort of in their mid to late 20s or early to mid 30s is, should I continue renting or should I buy my house? So in today's video, I'm going to break down my thoughts on both of them, whether you should be renting or whether you should be buying your own home. Now, it's a really tough one. There's so many different varying factors that come into play here, like your stage of life, like your location and where you live, affordability where you live as well, and what your plans are for the future as well. So there's no one size fits all. There's no silver bullet with this one. It's really up to your personal circumstances. For myself, I've done both. I've rented and I've bought my own home now as well. But my personal plan was to invest first and rent while I was investing, and then come back and buy my own home. So what I did is I delayed that gratification. I delayed the gratification of having my own home so I can set myself up for the future financially by buying a couple of really high quality investment properties. And then I came back and I bought my own home. Throughout that time, I wasn't in a position where I could buy a place where I'd be happy to live, but I could buy investment properties that were much more affordable in much better locations that had a lot of potential longer term. And then I rented exactly where I wanted to live. So this is kind of the theory of rent vesting. Now, rent vesting is exactly that. It's you rent where you want to live, and then you buy where it makes a little bit more sense. So this is something that you can ponder on. And depending on the stage of life, depending where you're living at the moment, rent vesting can be a really powerful tool to set yourself up. Now, I've got so many friends in Sydney at the moment, in a market where you're at the very top of a cycle. You're paying 80 to 100% more in 2020 compared to 10 years ago. It's been through a really strong growth cycle, so it can be super hard to justify that. And when I talk to my friends down there, I say to them, if you can delay the gratification of having your own home and investing first, I think you're going to end up in a much stronger financial situation longer term. And I think you're going to get to a point where you're going to realize financial freedom at a much younger age if you choose to delay that gratification. Now, I've got a friend, Josh, down in Sydney, Davo. He has bought 2 investment properties up here in Queensland. Now, he's been renting for the last few years down in Sydney, and he understood this. He goes, I really want to buy my own house down here, but I know it's not the right time to do so. So I'm going to set myself up, buy some epic investment properties up here in Queensland, and then rent where I want to be living in Cronulla. And then in the future, when he's in a much stronger financial situation, he can buy his house to then live in that one where he's going to be a lot more happier and in a place where he's going to feel a lot more comfortable, as opposed to making all of those sacrifices. You've got to also look at the amount of money that you're going to be putting down. A lot of people are like, well, I hate renting because I'm paying somebody else's mortgage. And I get that. If you don't own any properties and you're renting, you're basically throwing money away because you're paying somebody else's mortgage off. But you've got to understand that if you have some investment properties in the right market, in the right assets, you're in the market. Somebody else is paying for your mortgage, and then you can rent where you want to live. So let's take Sydney for an example right now. It's very difficult to get a property, especially, in a place where most people want to be living, for less than $800,000. So if you're buying a house at $800,000 or more, that means that you're going to have a very high mortgage. Even though the interest rates are extremely low right now, you're still going to be paying $600, $700, $800 per week of mortgage to hold that property. On top of this, you're not receiving any income because you're living in the home. It's your home. You're not receiving any income. So it's not actually an income producing asset. If you've read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, he actually says that your own home is a liability. It's not actually an asset. Then you couple this where you've got a high mortgage, you've got a non-income producing asset, and it's really hindering your ability to save because you're spending $600 to $800 per week on a mortgage. That really slows down your ability to save. So not only are you not getting any income from your asset, but you're also not able to save as fast as you would to get back into the market sooner. So it's going to take you a much longer period of time to actually get to where you want to be. So you've got to look at the opportunity cost there longer term and understand that sometimes you may delay the gratification. You know, that's Sydney. Melbourne, quite similar right now also. But if you're living up here in Queensland, in a much different stage of the property cycle, it can be a completely different story. You know, you can buy your own home where your mortgage is actually going to be less than renting in that particular area. Then it may make more sense to buy your own home first. It's also in a much different stage of the property cycle, and there is some talk out there that Brisbane could be the best performing market over the next few years. So, you know, there is that potential for short-term growth because Westpac just came out with their forecasts over the next 3 years, and they believe Brisbane's going to be the top performing market with the potential to increase by 20% over the next 3 years. Now, I certainly hope that's the case because I've got some awesome assets in the market and I'm going to start to see some of that capital growth come in. So these are the different things that you need to take into consideration, whether you rent or whether you buy. You know, rent vesting, you can live in Sydney right now, rent, you know, for $500 to $700 per week and be in your dream location, walking distance to the beach if that's what you want, or right near the city, near awesome amenities. You know, it's pretty cheap to be renting down there at the moment and the rental yields are really, really low. But then if you're up here in Queensland, different situations. Once again, as I said, there's no silver bullet. There's so many different circumstances that come into play. You need to understand where you're at. You need to understand whether or not you're willing to delay that gratification. If you are, there is some great opportunities with investing first. You also got to remember, if you invest first into the right market, into the right assets, if you've got an income producing asset, then if you hold that income producing asset for a period of time, you get some capital growth. Because you're holding an income producing asset, your rent may pay for the majority of your mortgage. So it doesn't cost you too much to hold that property short term, meaning you can continue to save, meaning you can continue to invest or continue setting yourself up. And then if you get some of this short term growth, you may be able to leverage off that portfolio in order to get into your dream home sooner and into a location where you're going to be a lot happier. So, you know, it is a different way of thinking about investing. It is a different way of thinking about what's normal in terms of society. I know we're told to go to school, get a good education, get a trade, or go to university and get a good job, buy your home, pay off your mortgage. You know, that's normal. But how's that working for people out there? Like, how many people do you know in your life that are financially free, that follow this particular process? I don't know too many people. I don't know, you know, I only know a few people that are actually financially free. You know, so sometimes you've got to think outside the box. Sometimes you've got to do what's not normal in order to beat the average and to be successful and to achieve financial freedom at a younger age. So, you know, create your plan. I think that's the best thing for you to do, is understand where it is you want to be in the future and how long you want to give yourself until you get to that place. Then reverse engineer that to what do you need to be doing today in order to get closer to where you want to be in the future. So if you're currently struggling with this and you're not sure whether you should buy your own home, or whether you should invest, or whether you should rent vest, and you don't really know how to create that plan, we do actually act as a buyer's agent, and we help people create plans and invest in the Southeast Queensland property market right now. And we also offer free strategy sessions. So if you're struggling right now to put the pieces of the puzzle together and you're in a position where you're ready to buy something, jump over to our website, www.pumpedonproperty.com. Follow the links to book in your free strategy session with either myself, Simon, or my brother, Ben, and we'll help you understand the difference between buying your own home or investing. We'll talk about the idea of rent vesting. We'll help you create that long-term plan and help you reverse engineer that so you know what the smartest move is for your next steps, because we don't want to hold ourselves back. We want to make sure we achieve financial freedom as soon as we possibly can. And we want to see you do that as well. So please like the video, subscribe, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And as always, thanks so much for watching.